everybody, I am the Masked Hero, and welcome back to the final two variants of the Amber virus, or the Amber family of viruses, specifically the Forward virus and the Pun virus, which I renamed to Punny, because I thought that was funny. Alright, we'll start with the Forward virus. I've already copied this over into my testing directory, and this is, again, a first generation sample. The infection size, I believe, is 2724. And so this is a first generation sample, which means that any text inside of it is unencrypted. But since Amber is an encryption engine, any subsequent infections with this virus, second generation, third generation, etc., the text will be encrypted. While this one has no payload in itself, the method of infection is so bizarre, I thought I might share it with you anyway. So I will go ahead and run forward. And unlike the other variants of Amber, this one does not pause for like 30 seconds while it infects everything in the current directory. That's because it doesn't actually infect everything in the current directory. Looking at test 1, it's still the same size. Looking at test 2, it's the same size. Looking at test 3, it's test3.exe, excuse me. It's the same size. Now, this one infects both COM and exe files, but it's not infected anything yet. I will go ahead and run test1.com. Cannot find graphics profile. If we look at test1.com, it's still 19,742 bytes. I don't think, this is a little bit weird to say, but I don't think it's infected. Either that or it's been stealthed. But just to prove, I guess, that it has not been stealthed, I will go ahead and run self-check. So self-check is an anti-stealth goat file, and it says no resident virus. So when I run both of those, they're not infected, even though this virus is in memory. How, may you ask? Do I know it's in memory? Well, if I go over to my CD-ROM drive and run quick memory scan, apparently nothing happens, but this is another sign of something being in memory. If quick memory scan freezes like this, that means something is in memory. So I'll go ahead and restart. So basically, this virus is not a stealth virus. It does not infect files as they are run. It's a method of infection. It does infect files. It took me a while to figure this out, but it does actually infect files. And it has no payload. And I will go ahead and do a memory dump of it as soon as I find where it's located in memory. So I'll wait for DOS to start back up, and then I'll see you guys there. Okay, now that I've started back up into DOS, I will go ahead and bring the virus back into memory. But since I just did a cold boot, test 1 is still uninfected. So even if test 1 somehow was stealth, test 1 is, now you can see that it's uninfected. So I will go ahead and bring the virus back into memory a couple million times. I don't know. That's probably good. So the bizarre infection method of this virus is that it infects files as they're copied from one location to another. Not moved, not run, I don't think renamed, but I will test that anyway. So it infects files as they're copied. So doing a directory listing takes about that long. So pretty quick. But now I will go ahead and copy all of the COM files out of the DOS directory and into the the root of the C drive. And watch how long this takes. So it infects files as they're copied. Here's COM. So that's about, and then you get this, that's about the speed that files copy at, because it infects each one as it's copied. And I can tell you, .com files do not normally copy this slowly. They copy quite fast. It sort of sped up there at the end, but so now all the .com files in this directory are now infected. So graphics now is 22,676, sys is 12,389, and the copies that were made are also infected. So graphics in the C drive is also infected. So it infects both the original file and the copy you made of the file. So I'll copy all the exe files out of this directory and put them in the root of the C drive, and again, we get the same long copy process as it infects each one. So it's memory resident and infects files as they're copied through what I can only assume is an interrupt 21 hook, but it could also be interrupt 13, disk access. So either one. But the conventional method, the reason I bring this up is the conventional method for file infection in DOS is to infect files as they're run through an interrupt 21 hook, and this infects files as they're copied, which is very interesting. And again, there's no payload to this virus, but the reason it's called forward is that if I can find exactly where it is in memory, once this finishes copying every single exe file, which might be a while. In fact, I'm going to break out of this. Basically, once it, I'm going to see where if I can find it in memory. So it appears that it's located at EC6. I will go ahead and debug at EC6. Yeah, OEC6. And I'm just going to dump until I find it. Because it does have one interesting thing I'd like to bring up. It says right there, this is only forward, and forward is spelled like the foreword of a book. So not like the direction forward, but a foreword, like a preface. So basically, what I can only assume this message is trying to say is that be prepared, because this is only forward. What comes next is much more damaging. So that's the only unencrypted text within this virus, and it never gets printed out. And actually, down here, it actually still says, I'm pretty sure it still says, yep, Amber 1.07 beta. It still says that down there. But both of those messages never get printed out, or if they do, I have not found the trigger for the payload. So I'm going to go ahead and reset. Alright guys, now we will take a look at the Amber Pun variant. And as shown before in the beginning of this video, I renamed this to Punny because when I looked at the name of this virus, Amber Pun, I thought it displayed a joke. But Pun actually is short for Punisher, and specifically this is the Amber encrypted version of the Punisher 2 virus, which is quite different than telling a joke. So I will go ahead and copy punny.com to the testing directory. And this one is back to like the normal kind of Amber virus. This one's not memory resident. It only infects files in the current directory, pretty much just like the other ones. This one has a payload, but unfortunately, the payload for this one looks to be really cool, but actually is broken. However, I will still attempt to show you what it is. So, this is not a first generation sample, unfortunately, because this really is so unfortunate because I'm pretty sure from the way I've looked at this code that the first generation sample would actually do the payload correctly, but all the other infected versions of this virus, the payload doesn't work. That's just theoretical, but that's very unfortunate. So I have a 13,193 byte file, and Punny only infects, its infection size is only 3,000 bytes. And that's further confirmed when I run this file. It infects everything in the current directory, and then says it's a GOAT file of 10,000 bytes. So this is obviously not an original the first generation sample. So as you can see, it did pause. It does infect everything in the current directory, but only com files, test1.com. test2.com, and then test3.exe was not infected, still 8,052 bytes. Rose001, that grew to 13,655, and again, just like the other ones, it avoids small goat files, so goat.com 66 bytes is uninfected. So the payload of this is not date related. I didn't know it had a payload at first. Then when I disassembled and decrypted this particular virus, I discovered that it has an internal counter, which it sets to 0 and then checks if it's 6. So the counter is incremented every time a file is infected. So if you count in this directory, excluding punny, because that does not count, there were 3 files that were infected in total in this directory. Go.com does not count because it was too small, and punny is the original. So test1.com, test2.com, and rose001.com were all infected. So every time it infects a file, it increments the counter to 1 higher and then checks if it's equal to 6. And if it's equal to 6, if it's infected 6 files in one directory, then it displays its payload. So a perfect example of this would simply be to copy punny.com into the DOS directory where there are multiple .com files. So there's definitely more than 6 com files in here. Yeah, there's a lot. I don't know exactly how many that is. But now if I run punny inside this directory, we should get the attempted payload, which sort of still is cool, but it's definitely not the original. So this is the Amber Pun virus. So it infects everything, and then gets to the 6th file, and then does that. So this, I assume, is the attempted payload. Clearly it's supposed to print something, but it doesn't put the DX pointer in the correct place. So instead of printing the intended thing, it ends up printing pretty much a memory dump. Unfortunate. Eventually it will stop, or crash, either one. This may look like an infinite loop, but it's actually not. The time I ran this before, it eventually did stop. And as soon as it stops doing this, I will go back and, in fact, I'll just break out of this now. But anyway, so it's supposed to display something on the 6th file infected. I can show you again. It's going to infect another 6 files and then do this. Oh, I guess it didn't that time. Interesting. Okay, basically that's what's supposed to happen. So now I will show you the intended effects of this virus. This is a very, very, very obfuscated and encrypted virus. So I'm going to use the debug command. It does not infect the exe files. So graphics.com, which was in the DOS directory and now is infected, I will go ahead and debug this. Now, technically what I do, and you can either skip ahead or just watch me go through all this. But basically what I'm doing is I'm proceeding along virus code, and it appears to be doing like really weird stuff, like setting the carry flag and then clearing the carry flag. But basically it's doing its encryption routine. It's decrypting itself. This is basically the Amber engine, I assume. All of this is, of course, theoretical. I haven't found any evidence that this is like this. I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. Basically, I'm just stepping along virus code until the file actually runs. Because when I get to the point where the actual file runs, see program terminated normally, don't go any farther, because now, if I do a memory dump, I'm going to get a decrypted file. So I will keep dumping memory. It would actually help if I knew exactly where. So it appears that or at least part of the virus code is at 4EC7. So I'm actually going to dump there right now. So this is technically virus code right here. And I'll keep doing this until eventually, there we go. Okay, so we can see Punisher 2, copyright 1997 by Harm, Minsk, and then star.com. So it looks for com files. Then we see Nirvana, which is interesting to see. I can explain that later, I guess. Very interesting to see that in a virus. And then a bunch of course, the dollar signs are line ending things. So basically, this is the text it would be printing out, and then when it gets to the dollar sign, it of course ends the printout line. So it does multiple printout. Then again, we see Punisher 2, and then more line ending things. And then this is the most unfortunate part about this virus, is that it actually displays some sort of ASCII art here, with the asterisks and spaces. It actually is, I think it draws something. And every time you see a dollar sign, of course, that's a line ending symbol. So it prints all that out, and then again at the bottom you see Amber 107 beta. So it's very unfortunate that that payload does not work, because it was very, very cool. It's very cool to see that. So it's very unfortunate that that printout does not work correctly, but at least you can still see it in memory there. And who knows, maybe someone has fixed that bug and gotten the virus to work. But that was both the forward virus and the pun virus, both of the Amber family. And I will be moving on. So that's the entire Amber series, or at least the ones that I have, are done now. And I will be moving on to another virus. Hopefully one with less complications to it and cooler payloads, because I know that's what you guys want to see. So until then, have a nice day. Bye, guys.